there's one stage in the development yet to be completed, and that's something that you've...
I believe the last piece of the puzzle of the human brain is what they are doing now in the two brain project, Brain Initiative and the Human Brain Project, because if they succeed, they're going to have the computer capacity to connect the whole world to computer, connect 8 billion people to supercomputer.
All 8 billion people on the planet?
Yeah, if they succeed to build this computer. Yeah, because it's the main goal with the European project is to build a really advanced computer.
And I take it those that control this computer will be the new one world government?
Yeah, that they talk about already. They take it up on the World Economic Forum this year too. They talk about this, that the one that controlling the AI will control the world. Vladimir Putin said it for, I think it's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not something that they don't know, the politicians.
Well, actually, some of them don't, or at least didn't.
No, they don't know what AI actually is. They think it's a stupid machine, but it isn't a stupid machine. It's a copy of the human brain and the human nervous system, and a remote control system for humans.
They've been implanting people since at least the 1930s. You know, the timing, everything seems to fit like a glove with regards to this is what it's all been about, all along.
Yeah.
Total control of the planet.
Yeah, that has probably been the main goal. And with AI, you don't even have to have militaries. You can control everything.
Do you think
so they are manipulating out themselves also, because war is a big income for countries. It's one of the biggest economies. Mm. So that is also a market that's going to disappear with AI when AI gets released.
Entire industries will just,
but everything that has with this to do, I don't think people have think over it enough, because they talk about basic income and things like that. When the people get off work, they're going to get the basic income to get around in the society. But what shall you buy for the money, and who shall benefit on what you buy? Money must generate money to make the system run.
It's a symbiotic relationship, essentially.
So people doesn't seem to realize that the whole economical system will crash, and it's just a matter of time. And just look at the surveillance opportunities now that opens with the remotely controlled brain-machine interfaces. Just think about the stock market. If you can read people's mind and work with inside trading and things like that.
Steal people's intellectual property.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of inventors are actually TIs, because they've got valuable information inside their brains. It's just hacking the human mind. And somebody said after they got back from a conference, would have been about 2015, 2016, that they said the word from the people from within the intelligence community there at the time was, now is the time to grab as much as you can get.
Yeah.
And that was open to interpretation, but I assume that what they meant is this agenda is in full swing. It's not stoppable.
Yeah,
so
but
you may as well, utilize this time to sort of like, increase your bank balance, or because this is definitely like war, as we've just said, is lucrative. You know, this is feeding the intelligence community.
Yeah. The
military-industrial complex. They're not poor people. They live in very nice houses. Etc. Etc. But what we've just been touching on now, I think, is what we've been discussing today. Until people actually accept this, there's no point in asking these questions, because they've not accepted that it's happening yet.
No.
But
once they do, everything will change, and in the future, the future will be really exciting if we survive, because then we're going to be able to find out the real history, the one that is for real, not the one we have been told by the government.
Yes, and that wouldn't that, as you said,
and it would be really, really cool if an AI could tell the real history.
It would be incredible. But also, I mean, I find it quite exciting just to see the open debate happening.
Yeah, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about it. Donald Trump talked about it. The first thing he did as a president, it was to put together a technological board with all the executives from all big companies, Elon Musk, and everyone was there.
Yeah. But as we touched on before, though, to my mind, that's just a sales and marketing campaign, because
it's a marketing
technology.
Yeah, but if we see over the development of AI, it's just two competitors right now. It's China and USA. China is really good at developing technology. They are really good, and maybe they have more advanced AI. I don't know, but United States are uncomparable when you look at their networks, their global networks with the Five Eyes Agreement and internet providing and everything, every satellite. No other country in the world can measure up with the United States or even compete when it comes. When they got an AI, they will take over the world.
They're streets ahead.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So it's not even a competition.
Do you think there's any hope that this will bring peace to the world, and that they will start behaving ethically and properly and using this technology for good?
No, I don't think so.
Why do you say that?
In the way it has been developing, it's hard to flip the coin now when it's built on torture and killing of innocent humans.
Yeah, I mean, essentially they'd go to prison, I suppose, if they openly admitted it.
Yeah.
Our governments want to get back into power, and if they stand up and say, look, as the American government did, didn't they? Clinton openly admitted this, the MK Ultra project, and said it had stopped. It didn't work, and it stopped, and the idea was to test how the human body reacted to exposure to radiation.
Yeah.
That's just an explanation of directed energy weapons, surely.
Yeah.
But we know it hasn't stopped. It's increased.
No, it hasn't stopped.
Exponentially.
Yeah. They have even paid some of the victims from MK Ultra, but there are no documents that the research have stopped. It have moved on under other names and other projects. But this has probably been ongoing since that. Or it has been. We have a whistleblower that has told us that. So. And
again, some of the information you've been showing me today, I mean, they are actually openly honest about the fact that they're not going to be able to control this. It is a leap into the unknown, a leap into the abyss, because once we reach what point of critical mass is it, and the technology becomes so powerful, so intelligent, its intelligence will begin to increase.
Yeah.
It's really down to the technology to operate autonomously.
Yeah, as soon as it being fully developed, it's a matter of seconds before it has all the knowledge in the world, in every database. It's going to be fast. It's not like a child that takes time to learn. This machine is going to
instant.
Yeah.
And I hope people are beginning to see now how fascinating this subject is.
Yeah.
To research, but the first stage we have to keep repeating it is you have to accept it.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's going nowhere because of that one basic factor.
Yeah.
As soon as the population accepts this, we can begin to debate it openly and properly.
Yeah.
Our politicians will have no option other than to openly debate it, because nobody's going to want to vote for them.
No.
If they're aware that they're being lied to, read this.
Yeah.
So via exposure, we can perhaps bring about some legislation. You know, I heard that before they roll it out, that they want to kill off all the TIs because they're the evidence of the research and development, which is, you know, a rather disturbing thought. You know, for any TI.
Yeah. That's a risk, because people don't want this to get out, and a good advice for TI is to do their own testimony. If they don't want to publish on social media, do it for yourself and keep a memory card or something with your testimony, so it's left for the afterward.
Posterity.
Yeah.
I mean, they can even do it while they're alive and anonymously for now.
Yeah.
You know, you can write on the internet under an anonymous name.
Yeah.
No, I do.
But it's good with testimonies, because it's a risk that they are going to do this, because no one wants to get caught for doing this, and a big chance is that they reduce the population of the Earth. Maybe release a deadly flu, or like the situation we have now with the coronavirus. Something is happening in the world. We see the climate is changing.
Yeah.
The temperature is rising. We have all this flooding and things in Europe. It's
forest fires.
Fukushima.
Etc. Etc.
Right before the singularity, really strange things is going to happen in the world that humans can't understand. I think it's rather strange right now in the world. It's every day when you turn on the news, it's something new that has happened somewhere.
And again, we're getting conditioned to it.
Yeah.
A point I think that should be made as well is that, you know, all the doctors, the police officers, the soldiers, the politicians, everybody that works within the state system is just as vulnerable to this as anybody else. It's going to envelop them. So it's in everybody's interest to stop, you know, stop persecuting targeted individuals, essentially, and start listening to them and give them some appropriate help, and then get our politicians and our newspapers and our magazines debating this publicly. And that's all we're after at the moment, because that can change the situation. I don't believe, every expert I've spoken to doesn't believe we can stop this.
No, it is barely impossible to stop, but they started to compare artificial intelligence with nuclear weapons, but it's a bad example, because artificial intelligence is like developing a nuclear bomb that can explode by itself, or decide if it's going to explode or not, without human intervention. Now we have so much information in this topic today. We have so much on our websites and Facebook posts and on social media. We have done so much research in this.
Isn't it laughable that we're still having the same argument with people after all this time?
Yeah.
With all the information that's available, people still automatically scream, nutter, you're delusional.
Yeah, but it starts to get even ridiculous now when they take up the same thing we have talking about for years now on the World Economic Forum.
Again, though, people aren't stupid. They know that they're talking about things that have already been developed, you know.
Yeah, that's my hope too, that people can find that out for themselves when this guy now, Yuval Harari, talk about AI and that government can hack the society's brains. Of course, if they can do that, they have already developed the technology. And who was the research subject? That's a...
We know the answer to that.
Yeah, we know the answer, but it's not hard for people to understand that for research it demands research subject. Where are the research subjects?
It is simple. People can grasp it. It's hardly beyond them. And it's that is the simple equation. That's what we're trying to achieve. You know, the point was made that these videos we're making now, the real importance, the real value in them, again, is going to be future-wise. Because these are historical reference points. you've just stated there that we've been talking about these things for years, publicly, in front of audiences.
Yeah.
And by and large, we've gotten a great deal of ridicule for it. But yet it is all a matter of fact. And that's been home for the last couple of days. We're off into Stockholm later on. Going to meet up with a chap called Mikael Elemans, and as I've said, the infamous Robert Naeslund. Looking forward to it.
Really nice. But can I say one more thing, just because
I've not finished yet. No, I've not finished.
We're filming now. So
okay. No, no. Oh, here we are. Bloody hell. And on arrival, this was the view from Robert's balcony. It's of Lake Mälaren, Sweden's third largest lake, and of which there are thousands. Robert Naeslund that is, did have surreptitiously implanted electrodes surgically removed way back in 1978. And he is rather famous in Sweden due to this. We travelled from Dalarö back into Stockholm to meet a group of TI friends here, friends of Leo's. This is Mikael Elemans. Would you like to introduce yourself, Michael?
Yes, thanks for having me here. My name is Mikael Eleman, and I live outside Stockholm in a town called Sundbyberg.
And how long have you been targeted?
Since autumn 2007.
A long time?
A long time.
A long time.
12 years.
And you do a lot of work, don't you, with regards to sort of like trying to educate people on this?
Yes, I've produced a couple of websites, and I'm trying to inform each and everybody, and especially authorities and doctors and policemen and so on, but they are of course not so aware of this technology.
That's very interesting though, so you're targeting those professionals?
Yes.
And trying to educate them essentially?
Yes.
What sort of reactions do you get from them?
Most of the people don't know anything about it, but a few people has declared their knowledge about the technology, and one of those people is the ex-principal of one of Sweden's biggest hospital, Karolinska Institute. And there are a few other people that has told me that they are aware of the technology, but they can't do anything about it.
During the conversation we had while we were eating dinner, you explained to me about the reaction you had recently from the police when you contacted them.
Yeah.
Could you explain that?
I called the police, and I was referring to some official papers about mind control, more or less, about microimplants that could be put into the brain so it can read and affect your thoughts. And I told them that I was exposed for this technology, and I was wondering what I'm supposed to do. And the lady that I spoke to, she said that this is a complicated question. I have to move in further and check what answer I can give you. And after an hour they called back and they said that yes, we are aware of this technology, and we are also asking for new regulations about these technologies. So we can't help you with anything, because if it's not written in the law book, we can't help you. So
that's very interesting.
That's very interesting.
So they accepted that the technology exists.
Yeah.
But there's no legislation in existence to govern it, really.
Correct, correct.
So it's totally, wholly unregulated currently.
That's correct. And I did a website right after that that is called braincybercrimes.com. I think it's .com, or is it .org?
I'll put it on the screen during the interview, don't worry.
Okay.
I'll get that from you afterwards.
Yeah. So they are aware, but asking for new laws, how to regulate it. And I think that those laws will come with the brain projects that goes around in these days around the world.
So just let me confirm that the police themselves said they are lobbying for laws to be introduced so they can police this technology.
Yes, correct.
Fantastic.
Correct, yeah.
That moves on from what we were discussing with Leo yesterday, because this is what we need.
Yeah.
Because we're all victims of a crime.
Yes.
But a crime that isn't officially accepted because there's no legislation.
No, exactly.
Because of secrecy, essentially.
Exactly. It's further developed from the early mind wars. You have the MK Ultra, but it's got to end somewhere. And from my point of view, the way I see it is that sooner or later we can get use of the technology in a positive way. It's not many thinking about that way, but I've been reading a lot about this, and I've figured out it's the only way to do it, to use the technology for a positive point of view. But it is more or less a global competition. So everybody is trying, the big tech companies is trying to do it, create artificial intelligence. But there are also those who are trying to do biomimics of the brain to get the true artificial intelligence.
What is biomimics?
Biomimics is when you can mimic how the brain is doing, solving problems, for example. Then you have to go in and study more brain science and figure out how much how much brain research could also benefit artificial intelligence.
Okay, and what's the book you just held up?
It's called The Thinking Machinery, and it describes when artificial intelligence learns from the brain. And it comes from a scientist employed at this Karolinska Institute. And it says here on the back that what happens for human cognition if artificial intelligence replace the need of memorizing a telephone number, how to find a road, or how to memorize lyrics or something like that. But I mean, that technology we already have in our mobile telephones. So in this book they are talking actually about artificial intelligence interacting with the brain.
In other words, doing away with mobile phones. The age of the mobile phone will die.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we'll be using our brains.
Yes, absolutely.
To communicate with each other and for work purposes.
Yeah.
To order a takeaway meal.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, who is going to own that information? Is it going to belong to the US, or is it going to belong to UK, or is it going to belong to you? That's the tricky question.
Interesting insight. So the competition element is really, perhaps, is a barrier to them introducing legislation, because they need to sort so much out beforehand.
Yeah, but if you think about it from the point of view that it's a global race, and nobody wants to be left behind. So everybody that has possibilities will, of course, try to be in the race and compete. And you have, for example, Google, and you know all the social media they own today and how much money they get out from that, selling social media information. Mm-hmm. I mean, Facebook and Google and so on.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we have Ericsson that used to produce mobile telephones 10 years ago here, but they are specialists in network technologies. And here we come into a very interesting point of view that I've been reading a lot about, and that is the new cognitive radio. A cognitive radio is a network that is lying above the ordinary information society. So I think that is one of the big innovations that can crack the problems with how to distribute the artificial intelligence to each and everybody, for each individual. And I also picked up some documents from the military where they tried to predict the future about the neurotechnologies that are invented today, and they say that it's going to lead to your own private algorithm that you can teach yourself to do things. Example, picking information, what news feed you want, or other information things.
Very much like Windows 10 organises things for you automatically.
Yeah, but more like a brain computer then. And then you have the other big thing with having the next coming internet. It could actually, with very small sensors, remote control your health. So you can get a prediction if you're going to have a heart failure, or if you're going to commit a crime or something. Then the computer knows that in advance. So then you don't need to end up in a hospital going in there with an ambulance, because the computer find out, and at the hospital they give you a call and say, we have to get you in for surgery here. And that is a lot of money in that kind of new ways of using the internet. But it's not the ordinary internet, it's another kind of internet, the new internet.
That's new to me as well.
Yeah, I call it cognitive radio, and that is a part of this cyber physical systems that is now further developed.
Where do you see yourself future-wise from the position you're in? Do you believe this can stop? Do you believe your targeting can and maybe will end at some point, and other people's will?
The way it looks like today, no, but that's why we are sitting here, by educating the rest of the population, and especially governments and authorities and others, public media of course. We will sooner or later have an ethic debate about that, about this whole remote viewing of people, and from that point of view there will be new laws, of course.
Are you following the progress towards legislation being introduced, and if so, where do you think the breakthrough might come from? What's happening currently?
I really don't know, but what I can read from our universities is that, for example, the Royal Institute of Technology, the short name is KTH in Stockholm, they refer that the year 2023, the Human Brain Project will have a model of the brain, and at the same date they will also regulate systems that learn from its environment. So the way I see upon it is that we have systems, the cyber-physical systems, and they are learning from different sensors, where they also use biological sensors, like humans, trying to figure out how does the brain does its computing, the biological computing. And that is pretty much what this book is all about.
Brilliant. And the book again is?
The Thinking Machinery, when artificial intelligence learns from the brain.
Do you believe that's what's happening to us?
Something very close anyway, because if we go back to year 2005, we have had something in the European Union called the European Group of Ethics for Science and New Technologies. And our Swedish bioprofessor, the first bioprofessor in Sweden, Göran Hermerén, he was a chairman there, and he did protests about extracting information from the brain, picking information from the brain and extracting it in a computer.
Hacking, really?
Yeah, hacking, biohacking you can call it also.
Yeah.
So we know the technology is here, it's published everywhere from authorities and so on, but nobody can prove that they are exposed for it. So that's where the law system comes in, and bioethics and neuroethics and everything. And I think they will regulate it by 2023. Really,
that soon? That is quite exciting. Though.
Yeah, nobody knows exactly, because it's all about how fast can they progress in this research field to understand the brain and build a model of the brain, and from that take out real artificial intelligence.
What is artificial intelligence? How would you describe it?
Oh, there are so many explanations of artificial intelligence. It's as many as there are researchers. But the guy who wrote this book, his name is Martin Ingvar, a very famous brain scientist. He explained at the book release that he didn't understood why all the big tech companies, and he meant Google and Amazon and Facebook and others, they're trying to innovate artificial intelligence in the computer. But the evolution has already created in our brains, so we make a copy out of our brains instead. That's what he was explaining. And he was also explaining all the troubles they have with robots, how to learn to climb in stairs, for example, how to figure out how the sensors for that should work and so on. And he said, there is no idea. The evolution has made it in the humans already, so why not copy it? That's what he's saying in public. So if somebody is telling me that, I suppose that that person is aware of what's going on in Sweden anyway. But I cannot know, but I guess it is. What it will do for Leo and Robert and for you in the future is that it could replace your mobile telephone, and you get a learning algorithm that you can train yourself to do what you want it to do. Like,
just explain what an algorithm is.
An algorithm is kind of, you can call it for an agent also, an agent in the network, but it's actually a recipe of different things that the algorithm are programmed to do. So you can actually program your own algorithm to search on the internet, and you can get the answers right into your head. And you can ask it for, is it any job for me today, or where can I buy a cheap lunch, or you have to
infinite amount of that.
Yeah, it's infinite possibilities.
Wow, and I'll repeat, this is not science fiction, this is science fact.
This is science facts, yes.
And unfortunately for us, we are research subjects.
I can tell you a little funny thing. When I was connected, the first thing they told me, I have to use. Oh, I can translate it into English. The first thing they said to me is, "This is the ghost machine," they said, and that was 2007. When this book was not published, but it was on the internet for sale, but it was not released. It was under the name The Ghost Machine.
That's a trigger, yeah.
That's a trigger.
Yeah.
I have heard the word The Ghost Machine 2 times in my life. It was when I was connected, and then I saw it as the name of this book. But then they changed the name of the book to Artificial Intelligence Learning from the Brain. So they have actually used the technology to learn how my brain is solving problems.
And what did you used to do for a living prior to this?
I was a salesman in lashing and lifting equipment for many years.
A businessman, essentially.
Businessman, yes.
Yeah.
And
another creative, then, essentially.
Yes, pretty much. You have to be that, otherwise someone will replace you.
Who do you actually believe is going to be controlling things in the future? Who's going to own these systems in all likelihood, do you believe?
I hope, and the only reasonable end of this is that you own the information yourself, because if Google is gonna be the owner of the information, how do I know it's the right information? How do I know that they don't fool me? And it's quite clear if you Google on a normal mobile telephone today, you have algorithms that give you certain answers, but are those answers the truth? We don't know that. And the old internet, it's already too manipulated to be an example of truth. So we need to recreate a new internet that we can rely upon, because internet is a very fantastic construction, and it gives freedom of speech and freedom for many people in poor countries and so on, that they can report what is happening there and so on. For me, it's a natural step into the future that we will all be connected directly with our brains and bodies for healthcare monitoring and to extend the human mind.
Well, these technologies exist now. I knew a man with a electronic pacemaker that was connected via wireless to the hospital.
Yeah.
And if there was any, worrying heart palpitations, then it was registered immediately, and he was called in, went in via ambulance.
Exactly. But the problem is with the old technologies is that anyone can hack them.
Yes.
So if we're going to have these medical devices, we have to innovate a new system that you can't hack.
Yeah, this comes under the banner of ethics, of course.
Yeah, but see it from this point of view. If this technology gets so important, I mean, who wouldn't pay for health monitoring that could give you a warning and a call from your doctor that you immediately have to go in for surgery? People will pay for that surveillance.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then the question is, how much additional things can you put into this technology? Can you move it so far so you really get use of having artificial intelligence and extend your brain? Is it possible? That's what the research is all about. Nobody has done it yet, but the winner takes a lot of money. And of course, the European group of ethics, or the European nation and Russia and others, they are also afraid of, think if the US alone take control of all artificial intelligence that could be in our distributed networks, that would be a catastrophic situation. So there must be a balance in artificial intelligence too. And the only reasonable solution is that you own the technology yourself. It's your private external exocortex, or whatever you want to call it. That's my way of thinking anyway, and my way of thinking fits pretty good into the latest publishing document and books and so on. But then of course we have a long research agenda back to the 50s or something, where military had this technology. Military tried to innovate the technology, but they failed. So they gave it to multidisciplinary science.
Again, can I just stop you a moment? What do you mean innovate this technology?
The military tried to get silent talk communication, but they only managed to express 100 words or something. But a word can also have different meanings depending on in what context you put it into. So that system it was useless. But then they put together this nanotechnology, biotechnology, information society, and science of cognition. So it's a multidisciplinary research. And from that point of view, they think it will be possible to build models of the brain, and when they have models of the brain, they have real artificial intelligence that also can interact with the human brain, and then you have to do the additional technology development to make it to a commercial product.
Now, if people wanted to research this subject, which is what we're trying to achieve here, which is what you're working towards achieving essentially, where would you recommend they go and look?
I will recommend to get an understanding of this and for how long the research has been going on, because it's a very tricky thing to understand the brain. I think Brain Texts is a pretty good source, because there you can find all the documents from the big daily magazines around the world, where professors has told what they are doing and also explain the threats with the technology.
Do you foresee a future in which this technology will be used positively, or do you believe it's going to create a dystopian future that really we wouldn't wish for?
If it works, if it's possible to do it all in, then we will of course benefit from it.
All in? What do you mean by all in?
That it really works the way that you are satisfied with the connection, and that that the system really benefits you. The way it is now, it's research so they steal information from the brain and evaluate it in computers, and they do that with different kinds of overstimulation and so on. But if it's possible, it will happen. It was the same when humans tried to get to the moon. I mean, nobody actually know will we ever succeed, and they did, and they will probably sometime in the future succeed with this also.
Well, there are a lot of people that believe we never went to the moon.
Yeah, that's another story.
Scorsese made the film.
But I'm not into that. That's another
Me neither,
topic.
With you, yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think I'm great that you are doing this job for us, and I think that by traveling around the world and do interviews like this, we will sooner or later get the ethics debate, because we need the public awareness that people one more time in the history are used as guinea pigs in horrifying, terrible research. When I sit here and trying to explain this from a positive point of view, I have not mentioned all the torture they have done to me to scare me up and try to stop me from producing websites and so on. That's another side of me, but I will keep on fighting anyway.
Irrespective of whatever they do to you, whilst you still can, of course.
Yeah, while I still can.
The fact that people like you and so many other people we're meeting from all over the world are putting this effort in. Yeah. I mean, you're clearly a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
You're a family man, you're a sensible person, you're a responsible citizen.
Yeah.
But you know this is 100% facts.
I know it's 100% facts, everything they have done to me, and they have also explained the technology to me when especially in different locations where they have better access. They have explained and showed to me how they do things, and sometimes they have allowed me to use the artificial intelligence in a positive point of view, and that is pretty amazing.
Me too. I know, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. They can put your information that you have in your brain, put it together and say it in shorter sentences, but have the full meaning, so it gets pretty much more intelligent. So the AI is very smart of putting knowledge together.
I was explaining to Leo that I've literally been trained.
You have?
How to manage this AI. I've just now got a hive mind, but it's totally natural to me. And also to communicate with both speech and thought. So it's almost like, not predictive texting, it's almost like an abbreviation, because they're using both speech and thought, but they're shortening the speech, and the thought fills in the gaps, and I can communicate much faster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you become smarter, actually.
Yes. Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. And what would people who wouldn't pay a lot of money for that in the future? And of course, it can repair people with brain damage and mental disorders and other things, and
or addiction,
and identify heart failures and other serious brain damages or something. The AI will pick it up immediately, and therefore I think all of these technologies has to pass through healthcare. It's got to be through healthcare. I mean, we have also another example, that is Elon Musk, who has done a lot of advertisement for his Neuralink. But there is no way in this world that Elon Musk will be able to put brain implants into other people's brains. It has to pass healthcare. It has to be FDA approved or even in the European Union.
Tell that to those that put mine in.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago. Things has changed. So check more on my websites, please.
Thank you very much, Michael. It was great to meet you. Thanks for coming along.
Nice to be here.
Just Google Robert and you'll discover a wealth of information on him. And he's also been personally collating and conveying information publicly for many, many years, as you can see here. He didn't wish to be interviewed on the day, but has presented us with lots of interesting stuff and videos he's made himself for us to utilise. 42 years ago this man had brain implants removed, and he's been fighting the injustice of it for even longer. I'll post a list of Michael's websites in the comments section below the video. In the here and now though, once again to round things off, here's another short but powerful mini-film produced by Life Beyond Targeting.
It does look really kind of nice. It says remote neural monitoring, targeted
Freedom itself is transforming the globe. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. In the industrialized nations, a technological revolution is taking place. A revolution marked by rapid, dramatic advances in computers and telecommunications. Totalitarian world produces backwardness because it does such violence to the spirit, thwarting the human impulse to create. As I looked out a moment ago from the Reichstag, that embodiment of German unity, I noticed words crudely spray-painted upon the wall, perhaps by a young Berliner. Quote, "This wall will fall, beliefs become reality." Today thus represents a moment of hope. Today thus represents a moment of hope. Today thus represents a moment of hope. Today thus represents a moment of hope.
That's how bad it is to always have this feeling that everything you think being monitored and thoughts get sabotaged by a program, a computer program that has been developed just for reading minds and communicate. No one has asked me or any other TIs, but we get our life destroyed by it, and it's hard for a lot of TIs. They can't do anything else than just cope with the torture, and it's really sad that people can do this. Yeah, to see that that it can be a life and it's possible to survive. Most here live in constant fear of death, so.
Well, it's always a possibility.
So it's a way to maybe break that for people. It's really hard for TI to understand this, but there are ways to survive it, and one of the ways is to study technology, learn, and try that way. Then you get yourself occupied with something else to do a little while, and you have to think of other, but then it can help you too to understand what is happening.